Hello, dear folks. Welcome to the show. Jack Chow on East West Show with G&E TV. The American Sniper is such a good subject that I find I'm very much interested in talking. Not only necessarily about the film, it is about the spirit, it's about the theme, it's about the whole issue. Why would we need that film, right? In discussion about the film and the consequences, when by consequences I mean to say that what we, the Americans, shall think about, shall rethink about, well, probably we should rearrange our thoughts about our definition, right? Definition to snipers. There is contradiction, there's very controversial issue talking from different angles about being either hero or coward or stuff like that. And I strongly believe that they are heroes instead of cowards. But for some reason, some extent, you have to separate yourself from your criticism of the war from the fact that you really have to be patriotist or patriotic to your own country, right? Joining me in the discussion is my good friend, Luann Arredondo, the founder and CEO of LABC, LA Business Consultant. Also, she is a wonderful member, commander of West Covina for public service, community service. Correct. And in addition to that, she is the assistant governor of the district of 5300 of Rotary International. Am I right?
You're right.
Right. Okay. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jack. It's
All
good
right.
to be
Let's
here.
start right away.
Okay.
I believe you saw the film, right?
Yes,
so
I did.
What's your impression? Did you cry? Or what did you do at the film?
You know, I did cry because I'm a military brat. My father was in the service. My father served 4 years in the Navy and 22 in the Air Force.
Wow.
And I have two brothers who also served. So I grew up in a military household.
What a tradition. Oh, by that though, I recall that your grandfather or great-grandfather was the governor of the state of New Mexico,
Correct,
right?
second governor.
Second governor.
Second governor of the state of New Mexico.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Good. All
Very
right.
rich history.
Yeah, very rich history. All right. Okay. Good. All right. So go ahead, please.
So I think there were moments in the film that brought back memories of when my dad and my brother came home from Vietnam, and the jitteriness of them. And so when I watched the film, I could relate to what the family was experiencing.
Yeah.
But I also could relate to what was going on. And so hearing the controversy surrounding it, saying that the sniper is a coward and others fighting that he's a hero, I think that for me, it was an emotional retrenchment in the concept. And I believe he was a hero. That's my stance.
Okay. And so did you believe that your father and your brother were heroes too?
Absolutely. I think they were put in, I think anybody who goes to war doesn't raise their hand and say, please send me to war, please put me in a position where I have to take another human life. But if put in that position, I think they have a job to do, and they were doing their job.
All right. And earlier in another show, the discussion with my friend Ken and Alan, we talked about the fact that you love your country, right? To what extent, in what way, at what certain time, how you, under what conditions you should love your country. Do you think, my question is, same question I raised to them though, do you think to love the country, in other word, patriotism, is conditional or unconditional, please?
Oh, that's a very tough question. I think growing up, we want to believe in the ideal world, that it's unconditional, but I do believe there are circumstances where that unconditional patriotism could get you into trouble. So I think there is a fine line. I think and kind of relaying back to the movie, in the scene, the opening scene where they show him having to make a decision, do I shoot this child, do I shoot this woman, and understanding the conflict that he must have been going through because we're raised not to do these things.
Of course, yes.
So to be put in that position, I think is extremely difficult. I think there's times where we shouldn't be where we are, politically speaking. But
you mentioned there's a fine line. The line is very fine in the distinction between the two, right? Under what circumstances you will think your patriotism should be conditional?
right.
And under what you should be unconditional, you think?
Well, I think if we go into another country without first trying amicable and peaceful means of relinquishing the conflict, then if we're put in a position where we have to go to war, then we must defend ourselves. If our liberties here are at stake, or the liberties of those that can't defend themselves are at stake, I think it's no different than me being on a schoolyard and protecting a friend who can't protect themselves, or a friend as an adult who can't protect themselves. We run and we jump in. That's a form of patriotism, but it's to the friendship. So I think that would be my line. If one of our allies or friends is suffering and they are not able to protect themselves and we have the ability to help, we should be there to help.
And of course, the Constitution vests in us the right to overthrow our government if they are too far.
Exactly.
If they are leading wrong. That's why we are allowed by the Constitution, or we are vested with the power, with the right to bear arms. That's why this whole thing, right? That given us a condition that at a time when the government goes too far, though, we have a right to refuse, to obey, to refuse to listen. Do you think that you also apply to a situation like that, and as the condition of your patriotism, please?
Well, I think that by voting our candidates into office, our Senate and our legislators, I think that's our voice. And it's their voice that takes us to war or keeps us from war. So we have to look at them and identify, do they have the moral wherewithal to be that voice for the masses? There's over 200 million people in this country. We do have rights, but we have those rights through our elected officials.
All right, okay. In other words, until the next election or next chance or next time you vocal out, right, to oust them, oust whoever is doing wrong, to oust the whole government that is the wrong though, you still have to take the government as your only legalized representative of your United States.
Yes and
Am I
no.
right?
Yes and no. We actually have means between election periods to speak up.
All right.
So the White House is very open. They have forums and platforms that people can speak out. Our legislators, our senators, our assembly members. We have the ability, if they're doing wrong, we have the ability to respond that moment.
Sure.
We don't have to wait 2, 3, 4 years till the election. We have the ability to speak up and garner petitions and use our voice to remove them from their office if we need to.
Exactly. All right. So, in other words, of course, I understand, or we understand, my audience understand too, in between elections or even midterm elections, there is always a chance you can petition somebody out.
Absolutely.
Right? Provided you get enough signatures. Right?
Absolutely.
So now, while you are collecting signatures, before enough signatures are collected though, do you still take your government, even doing wrong, as the legal representative of the government who waged a war or something?
I think we have to.
Yes,
I think everybody is in that boat. I don't think it's just citizens of the United States. I think citizens from across the globe have to have a certain level of faith in their government. And I don't think it's anything that you can oust somebody overnight unless we bore arms ourselves and stampeded the White House doors.
Exactly.
But I don't think that would be necessary. I think if we follow the processes and we respect that other countries have different values, then it'll prevent us from over-exercising our power.